Some of the things that I work on are major data implementations, data migrations, connecting databases to CAD interfaces seems to be one of my specialties. Also, part and parcel of that, obviously, with databases and interfaces, Infraworks, great tool for matching up data from all sorts of databases. Over to Tony.
Oh, thanks for the invite. Hi, my name is Tony Chow. I'm the Autodesk account manager. I work with both Matt and Frank. So I mean, probably my expertise are more on the licensing side for questioning. So any questions you might have on Infraworks, on 360 licensing, you can fit them over to me. We will take some emails afterwards if you have any specific questions on, like, do I have this product or how do I get this? Thanks, Matt.
Good. Thank you very much, Tony. As I said, my name is Matt Kolberg. I am a Cancel Civil Technical Specialist. I focus pretty much on everything Autodesk infrastructure, Civil 3D, AutoCAD, Map 3D, and most recently, Autodesk Infraworks. I've been in the civil field since 1993, the last years of which I've been working at Cancel, focusing, like I said, on infrastructure products. So today we'll be discussing Autodesk Infraworks and what it can do for your business. I'm going to run through several slides in the beginning and then discuss what Infraworks is, what it can do for you, and then in about 30 minutes or so, I will jump into a technical demonstration of Infraworks. So Infraworks helps you with today's business challenges. There's lots of competition out there. There can be inefficient and fragmented workflows. You know, going from obtaining the data, creating your model, sharing the data with collaborators, doing a preliminary design, doing detailed design, issuing for construction, as-built, and finally GIS. Infraworks is going to be able to help you streamline those types of workflows. Also, gaining commitment from stakeholders, project owners, or even the public. In a public project, Infraworks is going to help you gain their approval as well. So how can we overcome some of these challenges? Well, what if you could provide real-world context? Autodesk's kind of buzzword for Infraworks is design the what if in the context of what is. What that means is you assemble existing data, there is your what is, and then you start developing different proposals or options. So we create and visualize rich models, you know, from GIS, reality capture, even survey. Right? Then you explore design alternatives. Infraworks calls them proposals. You create what's called a master, and then you can add on to it, option 1, option 2. Your design will be in the context of an existing model. As you can see in the slide on the left, we have a road, and we have many buildings, and we have aerial imagery draped over them as well. So using the existing model and then your own proposed design, you can very easily make informed decisions due to the visualization nature of Infraworks. Part of design, of course, is being able to share with your stakeholders, the public, and your coworkers, your team. So you can share models online in the cloud as well. And the acceleration of approvals is what Infraworks can help you with. If you can convey your design in a rich visualization-rich manner, your approvals are going to be, your approvals are going to be accelerated. So, introducing Infraworks 360. So what is Infraworks 360? Well, if you currently have the suite of products, the infrastructure suite of products, maybe you're using Civil 3D, maybe you're using AutoCAD, the infrastructure suite Premium and Ultimate, I believe, contain Autodesk Infraworks. So it's very likely if you own one of those suites, you have Infraworks. Now, what's the difference between Infraworks and Infraworks 360? Well, Infraworks 360 is kind of a separate product. They're very similar products. The Infraworks that comes with your suite has certain features built into it. Infraworks 360 builds on those features. It extends your design capabilities. I'll talk about the exact differences in just a moment. So you start Infraworks with creating models from existing data. So you grab aerial imagery. You grab maybe a DEM file from a governing body to create your surface model. You grab GIS data from the city with which you're working or freely available data online, and you create your existing infrastructure model. You can publish, store, and manage these things online as well. So Infraworks is pretty easy to use. Sometimes, the hardest part is actually obtaining data. Now, if you have a data source already, excellent. If you don't have a data source, there are several free sources out there. There's paid sources as well. There are several free sources out there as well. GeoBase is one of them, geobase.ca, I believe. GeoGratis is another one. And Infraworks itself, I'll show my Infraworks screen. Infraworks itself has what's called a model builder. So let me just launch this really quickly. The model builder is currently in preview mode in Infraworks 360. And what preview mode is, if you're at all familiar with Autodesk Labs, Autodesk Labs is software that has been released by Autodesk in a kind of a trial period. They're really kind of getting user feedback at this moment. The model builder is not going away, but currently it's in a feedback mode. So on my screen you can see I've zoomed into the city of Surrey, city of Burnaby. That's where the Gravely office is of Cancel. This is the model builder. Essentially, I can define an area in my model builder and create a model directly online. Autodesk or Infraworks 360 will go online and grab the data for me. What kind of data does it grab? Well, it grabs imagery. On the left, you can see the list. It grabs elevation data from USGS. It grabs imagery from Bing. It grabs roads and highways and building from the OpenStreetMap. So you can begin creating a model very, very easily with Infraworks 360 without actually going online and grabbing data yourself. This model builder is available worldwide. In the US, it's most robust. In the southern pieces of Canada, it's not quite as robust as the US, but there's still data available. Other areas of the planet, data is not as robust, but Autodesk is currently working on it. So that's the model builder. You can very easily generate your model through Infraworks directly. Other types of data that you would normally include in a rich model are buildings. So what you see on my screen is BC Place. I'll just hit the play button on my video here. So this BC Place model I downloaded from the Trimble 3D warehouse. There is an enormous amount of data and tons of models available on the 3D warehouse. So you can download a SketchUp model, convert it to FBX file, insert it directly into Infraworks. So if you're looking for models buildings in your town, Trimble 3D Warehouses is the place to go. So ultimately, Infraworks 360 is a preliminary design, analysis, and visualization tool. It gets you to the point just before detailed design. You can design roadways, you can design bridges, you can design drainage as well. And you design all those things in the context, like I said earlier, of what is. You create your existing model with the buildings and the existing roads and perform your design right on top of that. So this is what Infraworks looks like. It's an intuitive user experience. Your screen essentially is filled with your model, and as you can see along the top left, along the horizontally, and in the top left vertically, there's your different interface elements. Collaboration. First of all, we will use Infraworks to create proposals, also known as options. We can upload those proposals via a piece of technology called a scenario. What a scenario is a piece of your entire model. Let's say your model is, I don't know, 30 hectares, and you want to share one block, maybe 1 hectare, with a collaborator. So you create what's called a scenario. It uploads just that tiny piece of the model to the cloud, and your collaborator will be able to navigate your model. They can zoom around, they can pan, they can see your model completely without actually owning Infraworks 360. So you publish a scenario online and invite collaborators to view your model. There's actually also a web version and a mobile version. A mobile version you can install, let's say, on your iPad. So you can actually go out on the field, and if your iPad is GPS is turned on, you can look at your model through your iPad right in context, right where you stand. Let's talk a little bit about gaining collaborator or stakeholder engagement. So imagine a public meeting. You're trying to get approval for a highway overpass or an intersection or an interchange. So historically, engineers have brought paper drawings. The paper drawing you see on the right is a typical AutoCAD style paper drawing. The one on the left at least has an ortho photo draped over it. But also on the left and right you can see the user has an iPad as well. You know, which one of those two models do you think the public, the stakeholders, will kind of gravitate to? Everybody likes to see an actual 3D model, especially when you can navigate through it, zooming and orbiting around. It's much more easy to understand a model than it is a paper drawing for most of the general public. So Infraworks can help you gain public approval by, bring your big TV set to the public meeting and show the model in context. Team collaboration. You can store an Infraworks model locally on your hard drive, or you can actually store it right in the cloud. When you store it in the cloud, you can download it, but you can maintain a synchronization. Once you've made some changes locally, you can synchronize it back to the cloud, and your collaborators, depending on the permissions that you've given them, will be able to download that model as well and make their own changes, synchronize the changes, vice versa. You can see their changes, they can see yours. So here's the biggest difference between the Infraworks that you may have in your suite, your infrastructure suite, and Infraworks 360. Infraworks 360 has a roadway design module, a bridge design module, and a drainage design module. These are advanced design capabilities. For example, the drainage design will allow you to specify a real radius if you're designing a road. You can design profiles with actual vertical curves. The Infraworks that comes with the suite of products, you can design profiles, you can design roads with curves. But when they're exported, say, to Civil 3D, they are essentially spline objects. Not spline exactly, but they're spline-like. Using Infraworks 360 and the Roadway Design module, you can seamlessly transfer your data to Civil 3D for detailed design, and you pretty much won't have to change much about your design. You can tweak it, of course, in Civil 3D. And then, of course, you can just bring it right back from Civil 3D back into Infraworks for visualization purposes. Also with Infraworks 360, you get the bridge design module. You can create bridges of different types. Your bridges can contain multiple piers. You can change the number of piers. Drainage design. You can generate watershed models. You can add manholes and pipes. You can do your typical drainage design. Or you can ask Civil 3D to do all that stuff for you. For example, you're designing a subdivision, and you have a design road created with curbs. You can ask the software, please create a drainage design for me. You may be wondering, okay, how does the software know what to do? Well, when you create a road in Infraworks, you choose from different types of roads. You could pick a highway, you could pick a collector road, you could pick a local road. And depending on the type of road you select, the appropriate design criteria file is used to manage that road. So for example, when you're creating a road with curves in it, if you pick a highway with a higher design speed, your radii are going to be higher. If you pick a local road with a lower design speed, you create a point of intersection on your road, you're going to get a shorter radius. Here's an example of a mountain road complete with a profile. Another thing you get with Infraworks 360 is the analysis tools. For example, this one, the analysis tool that was used for the profile is called the Profile Optimization tool. You go ahead and create the road in Infraworks in plan. A profile will be created for you automatically. Now that profile will probably not be optimized. You will have to go and tweak the profile afterwards, creating PIs, deleting PIs, creating curves. Or you can use the Profile Optimization tool, and your design, your alignment, your surface, your profile will be uploaded to the cloud, where the servers at Autodesk will perform the profile optimization for you. After a few minutes, you'll get an email. It'll say, hey, your profile has been finished. You open your model, you load the profile, and there your profile is optimized. Intersections. You know what? I'll save this discussion for the actual demonstration, but for now I'll leave it with, if you've ever used Civil 3D to create an intersection, you'll know that it's, even with the intersection wizard that comes with Civil 3D, it's a few steps to get that intersection modeled properly. It's exceedingly easy inside Infraworks. Again, I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Site analysis. Again, I'll demonstrate this as well, but there's two different types of site distance analysis. There's a passing site analysis, which you can see on the left, and a stopping site analysis, which you can see on the right. The difference between, Civil 3D has site analysis tools as well, but the Infraworks site analysis tools take into account your entire model. For example, on the left, you can see that there's an area of red right here. Well, that's because my road is in a low point, and and the surrounding terrain is much higher. So coming around the corner, you won't be able to see around the corner very well. So the red means there's a site analysis problem. On the right, we've included buildings. There's no trees in this model, but you can certainly add your own trees. And those too will be included in the stopping site analysis. So your entire model, not just the terrain, but the street furniture, the shrubs, the trees, the buildings will all be analyzed, and the software will give you that site analysis. So it's a very robust site analysis modeling tool. Here's an example of the profile optimization before and after. So you've done your preliminary design in Infraworks. You've made scenarios and published them online with your collaborators. You've created proposals, aka options, and you've decided on one. You've decided on the option. You can then create a storyboard in Infraworks, and I'll demonstrate this later as well. And what a storyboard is, essentially, it's an animation. You can tell the software, please follow my road and give me a drive-by, essentially, at its easiest. You can certainly make edits to the animation as well. You can change it from a bird's eye view down to a ground view, even underground, if you want to look at your pipes. So you've decided on your proposal, or option, and now it's time for detailed design. As you can see on my screen, Infraworks is on the top left, Civil 3D is on the bottom right. Once you've made your decision on the option that you want, you can export your model from Infraworks into Civil 3D, but not even just the model. You can actually create plan and profile sheets using Civil 3D as well. Very similar to the plan production tool that Civil 3D has. Here's an example of bridge design. That appears to be a steel bridge. You have options. You can have a steel plate girder bridge, or you can have a concrete bridge. I'll be demonstrating bridges soon as well. In this case, there are a couple of different options or proposals for different bridge alignments. On the right, you can see that the surface, you can see right through the surface. So underneath the bridge piers, you can see the structure that's been buried. So Infraworks not only creates the bridge deck, it creates the piers, and it creates the structures underneath. And it's a very intelligent model. You can tell the software, you know what, I don't want a single pier, I want two piers. The software will use the design criteria file to determine the structure of the bridge. Even better, it will give you quantities afterwards, and I'll show that as well. Here's just a quick video. Hopefully the video shows up well in your webinar. But here the user has created a road really quickly. They're going to be adding a bridge as well. So I'll kind of walk you through it. In the bottom, he's just adjusted the profile, and in real time, the model updates in the top half. All right, so as you can see, the aerial imagery has kind of been folded around where the road goes, and right now he's designing a bridge section. So instantly, and this is all real time, this is how fast it can be. Instantly, the bridge piers have been added. So clearly, there were too many piers, so he removed one pier. Those piers are kind of in the way of the road, so they're being moved and rotated at the same time. There's one. He's going to move and rotate the second one as well. So pretty quickly, you can come up with a pretty stunning bridge design. Drainage. In this case, what we're looking at, the blue shaded area is a watershed designed or developed by Infraworks 360. The user selected the output location, the software analyzed the terrain model, and created a watershed for us. In this case, we have a design road at the bottom, and the software also placed culverts automatically. The fun thing is, if you move your road, if you adjust your road, those culverts are dynamically linked with the road. You move the road, the culverts move as well. Here's a short video of the drainage model. So as you can see, we have the road on the bottom. The watershed has now been created. You can see the extent of the blue shading. A culvert is going to be added very shortly. There it is. You have options for culvert sizing and shape. The road is being realigned, and as you can see, the culvert moved with it. So all that happens right within Infraworks 360. All in context, all real-time rendered. It's essentially designing with the full-on rendered model at your fingertips. Okay, enough slides. It's time to actually demonstrate the product. So I'll flip back over to Infraworks. All right, here's the start panel for Infraworks. I've already shown you the model builder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly create a model really fast. When you start a blank project in Infraworks, this is what you see. It's essentially, you see some clouds, you see water. Okay, at this point, it's time to, well, start adding data. So I have a few survey points here, which I'll drag and drop from Windows Explorer right into the model window. The length of time this takes purely depends on how much data you're adding. The model I'm creating here is reasonable size, not too big, not too small. I have to tell it which coordinate system it's on, so it knows where to place everything on the planet. I'll close and refresh. And there's my really quickly designed model. So not so stunning yet. It's a 3D model, but doesn't have any aerial photography draped over it, so that's what I'll do next. I have a few JPEGs here with accompanying world files. That's important because you need to be able to georeference your imagery. Again, I'll specify the coordinate system. Close and refresh, and hopefully within a few seconds those photos will be imported in the proper location, and then they will be draped over my surface. Both of these things you can do in Civil 3D as well if that's what you like to use, but it's an extra process. And there's our three-dimensional model. Okay, there's a river here you can see. Another piece of data that I have is a water model. Oops, that's buildings. There we are. I have buildings, I have underground utilities, I have a water model, I have road center lines. For today's demonstration, I'm just going to add the water model. You're going to see some more roads and underground features later, but I'll just drag and drop the water model. And the type of file I'm using is an SDF. SDF, if you're not aware, is an Autodesk GIS format. You can use shapefile. You can use SDF. You can even use an AutoCAD drawing. So let me drag and drop my water model. Again, I need to tell it the coordinate system. Additionally, I would like to drape my water model over my terrain, because most GIS water features, they could be two-dimensional. If I import a two-dimensional water feature into my three-dimensional model, definitely some weird stuff is going to happen. So I want to drape that over. And also I need to specify the type of information that's coming in. Am I bringing in buildings, or am I bringing in pipelines? No, it's a water area. Close and refresh. All right, let's try some roads now. No buildings. I'll do buildings first. Bring those in. Same thing, specify the geolocation. Drape them over. Tell it that it's a building. Close and refresh, and hopefully soon we'll see some buildings. There we go. I'm going to reconfigure my water model here. Just bear with me for a moment. I think there's one thing that I forgot to do. There we go. So lots of buildings, and the fun thing about the water model is you can see it actually looks like water. It shows reflections. It actually looks like the water is moving as well. So you get this visualization-rich model onto which you can create your preliminary design. All right, I'll close this model and I'll open up another one. Let's try this. So there's my model, shows up in plan. I've created a couple of bookmarks. If you're used to AutoCAD, you can consider these to be like views in AutoCAD. So here's one view, or bookmark. Let's go to the building bookmark. There it is. There's my building. There's my rough kind of road around the building. I've got a parking lot here as well. Let's talk about intersections. So I have two design rows here that intersect. By default, Infraworks just cleans everything up for us. You have one design road and you plunk another design road, either crossing it or in a T formation like this one, an intersection is automatically created. And that intersection has some interesting design options to it. I'll zoom in a little bit closer for us here. So the radius of your curb return, of course, depends on the design vehicle that you're designing. When Infraworks first creates an intersection, it uses just a P-type vehicle, a standard car. Well, I can change the intersection simply by choosing a different design vehicle. And now the intersection is much larger based on the design vehicle I choose. I can choose an SU9, SU12, WB, any kind of tractor-trailer combination I like. Now, this is a parking lot, so I don't think there's going to be any B trains going here, so I'll set it back to the P. All right. I'm going to switch to a different option this time. Infraworks calls options proposals. Right, that's option 1. Let's take a look at option 2. Option 2, in this case, has different buildings, a slightly different road layout, a different parking structure. All right, so these are proposals. You start with a master, which is essentially your existing model. Then you create a proposal, and you just start adding data to it. All right, let's switch to the bridge bookmark. Clearly there's no bridge here, but the bridge is in a different proposal. I believe it's this one. Okay, there's my bridge. Now, I haven't chosen a suitable style for the road. Really, I kind of need to have barriers so people don't fly off the edge of the bridge. Right, but I can select my bridge, and you can see here I have a steel plate option. I can change that to a precast instead. On the fly, the software will calculate the particulars for the precast. There we are. Right now you can see the number of piers is set to 5. Well, I can change that as well. Let me change that to 3. So I change the number of piers to 3, the software will recalculate the structure required to make that happen. Now this is a pretty steep vertical curve here. Theoretically there could be some passing issues. So I'd like to do a site analysis. Site distance analysis. So I'll select this road. What type of site distancing? I want not stopping. I want the passing site distance. I want to go forward. I want it to be lane 1. And I'll click Analyze. The software will take a look, do its analysis, and it's decided there's a site failure everywhere where you see yellow. Clearly, going up this hill is going to be problematic for someone if you're going to try to pass. So pretty quickly you get that model. All right, I'm going to switch models here. I'm going to show you how to create a road in Infraworks 360. I'll switch to my different proposal there. There's one bridge. That's not the one I want. There it is. Here's an existing area in my model. We have a river that crosses, we've got a road down here, we've got a road up here. Essentially, I would like to connect this road up in the middle right down to this road in the bottom left. So I'll use my Roadway Design tools. I'll choose the type of road, not a highway, not a collector. I want a local road. So again, the different type of road that you select, a different design criteria file will be used. Different design speeds, different curve radii. All right, then I pick the style. If you're familiar with Civil 3D, you know that it has styles for everything. Well, Infraworks styles are of course very different. They're visualization styles. Your road will have curb and sidewalk and grass and asphalt, for example. So I'm just going to pick this one. Now, when I pick a point on or close to this road right here, Infraworks is smart enough to know that, yeah, I want to connect to that road. So it's not that you have to be really precise when you're picking a start point. I'll go straight across the river. And then I'll come over here. You can see that a curve is automatically being added. In this case, well, you can see it right there. And I'll just tee it into this road right here. I'll double-click to finish. All right, the software created my design road for me. It created my intersection right there for me. And interestingly enough, you know what? It actually created a bridge for me automatically. The software knows that there's a water feature here, and it won't run your road directly over a water feature. It has to create a bridge. So that bridge got created for me automatically by the software. I can further refine it if I like. If I need to make changes to my road, no problem. I can just use the grips that you can see. All right, we have a grip right here. Let me just select my road. All right, here I'm changing the radius of my road. If I need to change the start and end point, well, you know what? I can just take this guy and then move him over here. Of course, now I'm no longer attached to my road, and something funny is happening to my profile, so I can just undo if that's the wrong thing. There it goes. And that essentially is what you get with Infraworks. Oops, that's the wrong page. Sorry about that. So to sum up, you're designing what if in the context of what is. You can engineer large-scale preliminary designs in the context of the built environment. And when I say large-scale, if you've worked with Civil 3D, you'll know that it's a pretty robust piece of software, but you're limited to some of the large amounts of data that you can use. Okay, Infraworks is built on an SQL-Lite database, and that means it can take very large amounts of data. Okay, I was at Autodesk University a couple of years ago. A Norwegian company did an Infraworks presentation, and they had, I think it was a 350-kilometer rail design that they did across the country. There were lots of bridges and lots of tunnels, and the software handled it remarkably well. There's gigabytes worth of data. So large-scale designs in Infraworks, you can expand project and stakeholder collaboration. You can create storyboards, rendered images, rendered animations. You can create videos as well. And when you're done, you can interchange data with Civil 3D via the use of what's called an IMX file. Export and import IMX from either Civil 3D or Infraworks 360. So there's my email address up at the top, matt.kolberg@cancel.ca. Feel free to send me any questions in the future if you need some more information. I can pass some questions along to Tony as well. I see that there are several questions that have been answered by Frank Zander. Thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to open up Frank and Tony's audio. Please unmute yourself. Frank, if there are any questions in the panel there that you feel our attendees could make use of, please feel free to let everybody know what they are.
Certainly. Yeah, George asked, my understanding there also, it's limited as to what data you can get in Canada. There's lots of Canadian data sources available at the municipal level. The Vancouver, City of Surrey have GIS data available, so does Delta. At the provincial level, there's definitely data sets that are available, and also on the federal Geo website, there is data, GIS data that you can bring into Infraworks. So, and another thing that's part of the product too with Infraworks, they've got the, what's the command? Is it get map or something like that, where you can go and say, this is the area that I want to grab the GIS fabric from, and it will actually show you all the data sources that are available in that particular area.
Awesome. Looking through the Okay, thanks, Frank. Looking through the questions panel, there's a couple there. Let's see. One question from Richard. Do the sheet generation features use a DWT as a template similar to Civil 3D so users can define the viewports of plan profile? Yes. When Infraworks creates the plan profile sheets, the automated plan profile sheets, you are requested to use a template. One other question by Farooq, I think that's how you pronounce it. Can Infraworks generate files for 3D printing? At this time, I do not believe so. That would be such a file, I guess, an STL. Frank, can you think of another format for 3D printing that people would generally export to?
Perhaps a 3D PDF might be another format. I'm not sure whether or not Infraworks prints out to a 3D PDF or not.
I don't think at the moment it does. Don't quote me on that one. But as far as getting things printed with a 3D printer, I don't believe Infraworks is there yet.
Yeah, sorry, my mistake. I think I read that one.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
No problem. Let's see. Fred has a question. Can you do pedestrian circulation systems where the pedestrian dominates the proposal rather than cars and vehicles, and the cars are subordinate to the pedestrians? Not sure I understand that question exactly, but any ideas, Frank?
Yeah, I think what the question is like, it's almost like, you know, you could have a train crossing or something like that, and the cars couldn't cross because you have a train going through there. So there's some logic that would be in place that says they take up more space than they do. Almost like the idea of how we have the large vehicle taking up a large chunk of the roadway. I think it's somehow assigning a property to a person to say, yeah, that person takes up a larger space and has priority compared to perhaps a vehicle or something like that. Excellent question. I'm not sure if it does it, but I think I kind of sort of understand the question.
Okay, that makes sense the way you've articulated there. Thanks. Brian asks, is the bridge modeler included with subscription? Tony?
Yeah, I can answer that one. So Infraworks 360, this is what I'm asked by Richard as an earlier question, is Infraworks 360 and Infraworks is essentially the same product besides the 360 part of it. But if you're looking for the road modules, drainage module, and bridge module, you would need to acquire Infraworks 360 at an annual basis, and you also have to buy the modules on top of it. So Infraworks is not provided, Infraworks 360 is not provided as a subscription model, but more of an annual product by Autodesk.
Thanks, Tony. I'll wait another minute or so for some more questions. I think we've answered most of them. So there's one more question.
I just have another email from Richard. Okay. Yeah, so the question from Richard is, so at the end of the day, price to upgrade to acquire 360 and Roadway module, how does that compare to a license of Civil 3D? So it's probably best to talk to your account manager, Richard. We'll reach back out to you because I believe your group should have Infraworks 360, just looking at the account history. But we'll get back to you outside of this conversation.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, and something to add as well, Matt, I don't know if you have a link on it, but at CANSA we do provide Infraworks training. It is a typical 2-day training. So we do have them on our calendar, so if it's not on the, actually if you can copy and paste it, but it's autodesk.training@cansa.ca for any inquiries on training. But you can also search our cansa.ca website for our training courses.
There's two more questions here. One from Mr. Phillips. Do you have links to provincial and federal websites for the data for Canada? I don't have them with me, but if you do a Google search for GeoBase and GeoGratis, those are two.
And if you send us an email, we'll certainly respond back with a full list.
Yes, definitely. Paint lines by Richard. What's the easiest way for adding paint line paint lines, i.e. lane markings, pedestrian crossings, etc.? when you're using a road style, depending on the style that you choose, paint lines may be part of that style. So just choosing a different style, you're going to get some paint lines. Now, what if you want to use this particular style and it does not contain paint lines? Well, you can very easily go in and make edits to that style to add the paint lines as you require. It can be a center line, you can have a solid center line, you can have a dashed center line, you can have the fog line as well, a solid white fog line as well. And it's just a matter of going in and making changes, or actually better yet, creating or copying the style that you like to a new name and making changes to that copy. To add paint lines in various areas, it really just takes a couple of minutes. Along the center and along the edges of the road crosswalks, that kind of paint is a little bit different. It probably has to be handled a little bit differently. Another question, do you expect the licensing structure will be changing in the product in the coming year? I'm not sure that's something we could answer even if we know the answer. But Tony, do you want to maybe field that one?
It's a great question, because when Infraworks first came out a couple of years ago and it was included in the suites, everyone was quite excited about it. But come this year, 360 came out and there's these new fantastic modules that are provided with Infraworks. So from what we can see and what we've seen in the labs, that Infraworks is a full-fledged product, and we don't perceive that modules would be provided in suites. But don't quote me on that. But this is an exciting and more of a next-level product that Autodesk is focusing a lot of R&D into.
Indeed, and nobody's asked this question yet. I'm a little bit surprised. A lot of people, when they see Infraworks, they start thinking, well, you know, that kind of looks like maybe the next generation Civil 3D. And you wouldn't be alone if you thought that. You ask Autodesk about it, and they vehemently say that Infraworks is fully intended and designed to be a companion to Civil 3D. Infraworks does what it does best. It grabs a very large model, gives you a real-time visualization, analysis, and preliminary design tools, but it's definitely not a detailed design tool. So Autodesk has also stated that there's going to be even more robust tools for sharing data between Infraworks and Civil 3D. They don't detail what that is yet because it's probably a non-disclosure agreement thing going on, but they've said there's going to be robust tools for sharing data back and forth live between Infraworks and Civil 3D. So at least right now, Autodesk is vehemently stating that it's a companion. Okay, there appears not to be any more questions. I thank everybody for attending our webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned lots. Feel free to email me, matt.kolberg@cancel.ca, for any additional questions. If I need to, I can get you in touch with your sales account manager, or Frank, or Tony, or myself. Thank you again. Anything to add, Tony and Frank, before we sign off?
Nope. So thanks everyone for taking the time again all of this week for attending the webinar. And of course, this is very exciting for product and also for yourself. So of course, any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
All right. That seems to be it.
Thank you everyone for attending. Good.
Thanks everybody, and everybody have a good day. I will be signing off in 2 seconds.